Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to update everybody. I'm going to try and do this once a week if I can. Bear with me if I miss a week. Things are a little crazy, but I'll do my best to not do that. So hello, everyone. Sorry that we can't have this chat in person. Each of you, I know, are practicing personal distancing and helping us fight the fight against this pandemic. Believe me, I know you likely feel, or I can imagine that you feel like you're not contributing as much as you'd like to helping everyone else in town. But believe me, by practicing personal distancing, you are doing that. That is the way we're going to win this fight. Us on the front lines need to keep ourselves healthy, but we also need to keep from spreading it to our neighbors. So although I know everyone here wants to be hands-on, rush to help, unfortunately that's not how we're going to win this fight. It's going to be by staying home, staying healthy, and looking after your family. And selfishly, as both the fire chief and a resident of Innisfil, I need you folks to be healthy, and both in spirit and in physically healthy, so that should we need you and the tones go off, that you're able to respond quickly and efficiently and effectively and do what you folks do best, and that is help out when needed. So thank you for that. I can understand the frustration. I think we're no different than everyone else, that we're all feeling that frustration of the restrictions that are in place, the way life is not normal, and we're all adjusting to that. So like I mentioned in the last video, and I'll try to be shorter, my last video got away from me in that update and became longer than I'd hoped, so I'll try to be less long-winded. I think it's important, as I mentioned in that last video, to know that it's okay not to be okay. You heard Chief Matt Pegg talk about that in our session a few weeks ago at the town hall, for those of you who attended, and that is super important to remember right now. There's lots of anxiety, there's some fear, there is a lot of angst, I guess to say. That's okay. I'm feeling it, everyone else is feeling it, so again, please reach out to the EAP stuff that we talked about before. I did forward all of the information for LifeWorks through EAP and the contact information for your peer support team. So please use that when needed. A couple other things I'd like to just keep everybody up to date on. There's been lots of things happening, as there is every day. Obviously, the minister just announced that schools will be closed until the end of April. That's obviously going to cause more stress on many families. Unfortunately, that's where we are today. You've likely also heard that there are many firefighters, or several firefighters, that have been infected through the course of their duty around Ontario, mainly in the GTA, so in Toronto, Oshawa, Mississauga. There's probably a few others as well. This has resulted in many firefighters being isolated. We are doing our best to make sure that doesn't happen here, but we're preparing for when it does as well. So we have implemented several protocols over the last few weeks in an effort to reduce the chance of this happening to our staff. One of them is we've limited firefighter contact with patients. So we used to have several of us would go into a building and work on a patient, get information, grab medications, all that kind of thing, get ready for the medics. Now we're really asking our staff not to make physical contact or come within 6 feet of the patient unless absolutely necessary. If the patient is having some discomfort, but they're talking and they're breathing okay, they're conscious, we're keeping our distance, we're gathering information, we're there to jump in should they go into some kind of a medical distress, and we'll do what we normally do. But if that is not required, we are not making direct contact with the patient. This is important for medical calls, but these screenings and protocols could also be at car accidents, anywhere we're going to interact with the public. When we do, if someone is in distress and we do need to take direct action and make direct contact with the patient, we're trying to limit that to one firefighter. So the one firefighter will be fully gowned and masked and gloved and everything else with as per our safe work practices protocols, but only one firefighter will make direct contact. Another firefighter will stand back the 6 feet or more, gather information best they can, help the medics with their equipment if they can, but not making direct contact with the patient and trying to touch as little as possible in the residence. This not only limits the exposure of our staff and of you folks, but it also helps conserve our limited resources for PPE. We do have orders in. Deputy McCallum's got orders out everywhere. Right now our stock is adequate. We're not running short. So as long as things continue the way they are and there's no crazy spikes in calls, we should be fine and there should be no issues. We have some things, some masks that have come in. We have some more on order. We're still trying to source out some more downs, but right now we have an adequate supply. So you're fine to use what you need to use to keep yourself safe when responding. Another protocol we've implemented, and you've all likely heard of it, is the self-screening tables at every station. So medics are doing this as well across Ontario and across Canada. When you come to work, when you report to work, there's a table at the one entrance that you're to use. You come in, there's a table there with hand sanitizer, a thermometer to take your temperature. There's wipes to wipe down the thermometer when you're done. You record your temperature and everything on a sheet, and then you go to work. We're also doing that as people leave shift. So when they leave, they do the same self-screening. All the questions are there to answer that the Simcoe County District Health Unit are suggesting we all use. So we're doing that before shift and after shift. It's also important, and all staff are doing this, is that they're monitoring their wellness throughout the shift. So throughout that 24-hour shift, they're monitoring themselves. Should any of those questions on that questionnaire become a negative indicator, so if you are starting to feel fever, you're starting to feel not yourself, ill in any way, you go right to that table, you answer the questions, you take your temperature, and act accordingly. If you need to go home, you need to go home, notify your supervisor. So we have some protocols in place on how to handle all those situations. For you folks that are maybe watching this from home and are not reporting to the station every day, thank you. It's crazy that I'm thanking you for not showing up for work, but in this instance, that's what I'm doing. But it's also important, though, that you do that self-monitoring for yourself every day and maybe a couple of times a day. The importance of this, obviously, is if throughout the day you start feeling feverish, sick, a cough, all those things that, trouble breathing, all those things that are in that self-screening process, that you be aware of it and know that should the tones go off, as much as you want to respond, you can't respond. We sure don't need our teammates getting sick as well. So make sure you're checking yourself a few times a day, making sure that you're fit to respond. So when the tones go off, you don't respond. You just turn your pager right off. If I can make that suggestion, if you're not feeling well, turn it off, because otherwise the urge to respond and help may supersede or overpower your need to stay home. So please continue that self-monitoring. Should you respond, again, it's very important that when you're at the call or at the hall and you've been told to stand down or trucks are returning to the station, that you're not congregating into small groups. There's been a few times where we've gone to the station and people are chatting as they always do before this pandemic hit, and we cannot be doing that. I can't stress it enough. You cannot be doing that. If you're not needed, if there's not an immediate task to do, then go home. Self-screen as you leave, do the hand sanitizer, do all the things that are there at that self-screening table, and go home. a few people, it only takes a few people to disinfect doorknobs and light switches and that kind of thing while you're here, and disinfect the inside of the truck if people did respond. No one else needs to be here. Your best thing you can do then is just go home. So yeah, I'm going to try and wrap this up. Another town meeting will be happening on Monday at 10 o'clock. For those of you that watched last week, I think it was informative. The CAO speaks and a few other people speak as well to bring you up to date on what's happening in the town itself with all town staff. So you're more than welcome to join us for that town hall meeting virtually. It will be at 10 o'clock on Monday, as I said. You should receive an invitation around 9:30 by email. So if you're interested in watching that update, and you can also, it's interactive, as you know. You can send in some questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. Yeah, so you'll receive that invitation on Monday morning, probably around 9:30. We're hoping, but please join us for that. Again, we did speak about training briefly. The training officer Doyle is still working on that process and how exactly it's going to roll out. We're having a few issues on just securing the right source and what's going to be the best mode of training for all of you. So Training Officer Doyle is working on that currently. Keep an eye on your emails from TO. He will be contacting you and your administrative captains as soon as he has that rolled out. But please keep your eye open for that email. So again, thanks for everything you're doing to keep yourselves healthy in case we need you, but also for keeping your families healthy. That's got to be everybody's top priority at the moment, is your health and your family's health. So thank you for all of that and everything you're doing. Stay safe, stay home, and we'll talk soon. I'll try and get another one of these videos out next week. Thanks very much. Take care.